quiet of night, I whispered my plea, holding her close, hoping for her decree.
Paper folding against skin. A comb glides through hair, catching a stray shine of jasmine. A drum taps once, twice, soft as a heartbeat, and the house leans into the timing. Listen closely. A wedding is arriving before anyone arrives.
I'm Samnong Bradley. Ancient stones, modern stories, warm welcomes. Today, we step into kitchens, music rooms, and negotiation tables to meet the people who make Khmer weddings happen. The matchmakers, the bridal seamstresses, the kitchen committees, the musicians who count vows on drum beats. We'll be sound forward, close to the hands and voices that stitch these ceremonies together.
And I'm Soven Linda. We'll pause for context. What kind of betrothal customs you might encounter, how gifts are exchanged, and the ethical frame for listening in on private family moments. We put sourcing and consent in the show notes, and we'll remind you how to be a respectful listener and visitor.
Quick note before we go deeper, weddings are intimate, negotiated rituals. We recorded with explicit permission from every household member featured, offered anonymization where requested, and left out specific addresses or vendor contacts. If you're listening because you are curious or planning to attend a Khmer wedding, thank you. We'll give practical guidance at the end for how to show up respectfully.
Context Corner. Across Cambodia, marriage practices blend legal forms, Buddhist blessings, ancestral rites, and neighborhood economies. Historically, family alliances are negotiated through gifts that are symbolic and practical. The layers matter. There are public ceremonies that bind communities and private negotiations that sort out expectations and support. In our show notes, we cite local elders, anthropological research, and community organizations that helped us navigate these practices. Also, recording ethics. Always ask before you record, explain how the audio will be used, and offer guests review or redaction. For anything involving minors, we required guardian consent and either anonymized voices or summarized the moment instead.
Our first portrait is of a woman many villagers call the gentle broker, Mrs. Chan, the matchmaker. She doesn't make matches from thin air. She tends relationships. I first met her in a small, shaded courtyard where she was folding invitations. Her hands moved with the same rhythm she uses to keep families talking.
Tell me about how she starts those conversations. It sounds like diplomacy disguised as hospitality.
She begins with tea. Then she asks about rice harvests, children's schooling, who will travel for the ceremony. She listens, really listens, then names what each family wants without making anyone feel exposed. She explained to me that her role is less about matchmaking for romance and more about weaving dependable support across households. If you listen to the way she folds a corner of paper, you can hear her measure honor and obligation.
In the anthropological sense, the matchmaker is a mediator of kinship ties and resource flows. She keeps track of debts, favors, and histories. So marriage is as much about social resilience as it is about celebration.
Mrs. Chan told me a story. Once, a groom's family wanted to schedule a ceremony on the temple's festival day because it was lucky. The bride's family hesitated. The day would stretch cooks thin and bring extra expense. Mrs. Chan sat with both families until a second date was chosen, one that preserved ritual meaning and spared the household burden. It was a small negotiation, but a big kindness.
That's where the layers matter. Ritual calendars, agricultural cycles, and family labor all fold into these decisions. It's rarely a single correct choice. It's a negotiation of care.
Next stop, the bridal prep table. I watched a grandmother rehearse blessing lines while the tailor pinned a ceremonial sampot to a young bride. There's a particular hush in that room, the kind that makes small sounds enormous. Scissors, breath, the soft scrape of a comb. The tailor, who also sometimes works for the temple, explained which embroidered motifs are appropriate for which rites and which are considered too sacred to reproduce outside specific temple patterns.
How do they navigate the boundary between traditional costume and what families want today? I imagine many young couples want modern touches.
They negotiate that too. The tailor told me, with a laugh, that a groom wanted neon thread. The grandmother would have none of it. So they kept the silhouette, sacred lines of the sampat and the chest cloth, but used a subtler modern weave. It's a collaboration across generations. Honor the form, let the details speak to the present. It felt like watching a conversation between eras, made in silk and stitches.
That balance between preservation and adaptation is central to how traditions remain meaningful. From a production standpoint, those quiet sewing rooms are acoustic gold. Every pin, every rustle tells part of the story.
Which brings us to the soundscape interlude. Close your eyes. A ladle scoops coconut milk. A woman calls prices at the market. A youth ensemble tests the pitch on a gong. One note, then another, then a drum counts in. These are not background props. They are the ceremonial punctuation. Music signals when a vow begins, when a procession moves, when an elder is called forward.
Pause with me on that drum count. Musicians I spoke with said timing is everything. The score and the rognette aren't just accompaniment. They cue movement, they mark transitions. A misplaced beat can change how an entire ritual is read.
I met a small ensemble, 3 young men and 2 women, practicing a sequence that signals the arrival of the bride's procession. One musician explained that certain melodies are associated with blessing, others with departure. She said, "Music remembers what words sometimes cannot." And then quietly, she taught me the count. Slow, slow, quick, then a sweep. You can hear how families learn to move together to that memory.
They also described economic realities. Many ensembles are hired by communities, paid modestly, and rely on weddings for livelihood. If you're hiring musicians while visiting, discuss fair pay and travel costs. Those details are part of keeping the tradition alive.
Practical takeaway time. If you're invited to a Khmer wedding, arrive on time to the invitation's instructions. Dress modestly, shoulders covered, length below the knee. Ask before photographing or recording, and never pressure families for staged or private moments. If you want to support musicians and artisans, hire through community liaisons or local cooperatives rather than taking contacts from a single family. And please, offer consent and review. If someone asks to review an audio snippet before it's published, respect that request.
A couple of quick recording tips for fellow audio-curious listeners. Introduce yourself and your purpose. Record a short consent statement on the record and capture a few seconds of room tone. But most important, use your recordings to uplift, not extract. Share proceeds or attribution when recordings directly bolster a performer's livelihood.
Before we close, a final image. Mrs. Chan sweeping a courtyard at dusk after a rehearsal. The string lights in the trees, children still humming a refrain. She paused, looked at the house, and said how marriages are not just 2 people, but a web of neighbors who will carry each other through seasons. That sense of shared responsibility, that weddings are a communal art of belonging, stayed with me.
We are grateful to the families, tailors, musicians, and matchmakers who invited us in and guided how their stories were told. You'll find more context, consent notes, and curated resources in the show notes, along with links to community groups that support ethical cultural tourism in Cambodia.
If this episode left you hearing the scrape of a comb or a drum count in your head, then we've done our job. Subscribe to Ancient Echoes to keep walking the temples with me.
More stories carved in stone, and the living rituals that keep culture breathing. Quiet stones, loud stories.
Oh, shining diamond, flawless and red, you stand so quiet, soft in the air. I dared not rush, you feared you'd flee. Your heart too pure to belong to me. If you turn away, I reach and bind, press my hand, still body and mind. Your brows I trace, your breath I steal. This mark I place is dark and real. From this moment break and fall, hear the spell, obey the call. False love born from sacred lies, second one whispers through closed eyes. Follow me, don't fight, don't run, your soul is caught, my work is done. Empty will your light undone, under spell, under Sigmund. Crystal beauty, diamond bright, caught between shadow, charm and night. Time won't save you, truth won't last. This vow is carved, the line is cast. My words are smoke, my touch is fire. I bend your heart to dark desire.